All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the third and final day of WikidataCon. I want to take the next 30 minutes to talk a bit about the state of Wikidata as a people-powered and trusted infrastructure for a changing world. Because Wikidata is not only growing, it's becoming more widely trusted and used. And that is more important now than it ever was before, both for the Wikimedia, for Wikidata, and the other Wikimedia projects. I want to touch on three themes: reach and reuse, sustainability, and the Wikibase ecosystem. Let's start with reach and reuse. We've seen a lot of new great applications built with Wikidata's data over the past year, such as Pintscher, that lets you follow past research expeditions, or should I watch this, to help you pick the next movie for your movie night, or Flashback Fiesta for some fun game time with your friends, or the Wikisource Reader app that, excuse me, the Wikisource Reader app that gives you access to great public domain literature on your phone or tablet. That was made possible, among many other things, by better access to Wikidata's data. The REST API, for example, has reached version 1, and we've integrated search into it. We've released the Wikidata vector embedding and an MCP for Wikidata to make Wikidata's data more useful also in the context of generative AI. And we did some very promising experiments with GraphQL. And if you are someone who wants to build applications and services with Wikidata's data, you can find all the information you will need on the developer portal that's linked here. And there's a ton of useful content that you can catch up with from the data reuse days that we did earlier this year. All of this, of course, hasn't gone unnoticed by the world. Wikidata has gotten a ton of attention in the press, from the Register to The Verge to TechCrunch, to a really lovely piece by Stephen Harrison that I encourage you to read. It's really lovely. And to give you a sense of how much things have changed this year, here's a look at the Google Trends charts since the start of Wikidata. So that's quite an impressive spike this year. And something that made me especially happy this year is that Wikidata has been recognized as a digital public good. And that makes it the third project in the Wikimedia movement after Graph Directory and Wikipedia to receive this recognition. And I want to take that as an opportunity to give a special shout out and thank you to all the people doing the hidden work in Wikidata: admins, patrollers, bureaucrats, and more. You are the ones who make all of this possible. So thank you. Of course, Wikidata's data is also used inside the Wikimedia projects. And this year, we worked to make it easier to understand for the editors on the other Wikimedia projects what is actually going on Wikidata that affects their articles. So, for example, in the screenshot at the bottom here, you can see entries for changes coming from Wikidata. They are hard to understand because the labels for the properties that are referenced in the changes aren't shown, right? It just says property P775. Not very helpful. So we've changed that so you can see, as you can see in the upper screenshot, and it's now easier to understand what is actually going on, what has been happening in the change. By doing this, we've also further reduced the number of changes that we show that didn't actually affect the article. This and other changes, I hope, will make it possible for more people to enable Wikidata changes in their watch list on Wikipedia and in their recent changes on Wikipedia, and gain more confidence in Wikidata's data, and because they have more control over it. Overall, we've also seen quite an increase in Wikidata's data use across the Wikimedia projects, as you can see here. Specifically, since the beginning of this year. And if you're interested in all things Wikidata on the other Wikimedia projects, then I recommend you check out the Wikidata and Sister Project Days event we had earlier this year. There are great tutorials and showcases, for example, for you. And fun fact from the Wikidata community survey that we did you know that about 80% of Wikidata's editors are also editing another Wikimedia project? And most of the time, those other projects are Wikipedia and Commons. Now let's take a look at sustainability. On the technical side, we're continuing to adapt to Wikidata's growth. We have cut the amount of data in the query service in half with the graph split. It's now split into a main and a scholarly article graph. So to query them together, you will need to write federated SPARQL queries between them. If your queries don't include scholarly article data, then nothing changes for you. And of course, editing continues to happen in Wikidata itself. In addition, we've reduced the size of the recent changes table on Wikipedia's by about 23%. And at the same time, as I was saying earlier, reduced the amount of irrelevant changes that you're seeing there that don't actually affect the article. And we are in the process of removing about 30% of the size of the database table that holds all the changes ever made on Wikidata by also removing unnecessary information from it. And here I want to give a shout out to teams at the WMF who are doing a lot of the work on these topics. Now let's look at the human side of it. When we look at the human side of sustainability, then I think we don't see a lot of fluctuation, but also not really growth in the community at the moment. And looking at the content, it continues to grow, but for a few years now, it has reached a much more healthy level, I would say, which I think is great. Something that I found particularly interesting is this graph. It shows the average number of statements per item. So how many statements does an average item have? And something happened that suggests to me we've been paying attention to building out what we have instead of adding new items. But at the same time, this doesn't look very organic to me. So if anyone has an idea of what happened here, I'd love to hear it. The previous 3 slides taken together suggest to me that we need to help more people contribute to Wikidata and help them find meaningful and productive ways to contribute. That includes both new people, but also people who are currently only contributing at the periphery of Wikidata. And a big step in that direction is making it possible to edit statements from mobile devices. We're currently in the middle of the development for this, and I invite you all to test it and give feedback as we go along. That's really important to me because some of what we're building now for mobile devices will in the future also come to the desktop UI. So feedback there now is really valuable. And you can try that out on Beta Wikidata already today. And the link on the slides is where you will find more information about how you can test and how you can give feedback. Another important part of helping people find their way and place in Wikidata for me are wiki projects. And Jan earlier was talking earlier in the conference about how important wiki projects are for coordinating, for guidance, and bringing people together around the same topic that they are interested in. And at the same time, right now they are practically invisible for most people. That's not great. So we want to make it possible for these wiki projects to be more visible on item pages so they can actually fulfill that role. And you can chime in on how to best connect an item to its respective wiki project or wiki projects on the page that's linked on the slides here. Also, can I just say that Wikidata has the best wiki project logos of all the wiki project logos I've seen across Wikimedia. They're just perfect. A second piece that I hope will help people find their way and place in Wikidata is the newcomer homepage. It's a homepage and a few associated features that new editors will get. I will provide homepage with useful links, for example, to help pages, to wiki projects, and more. And that was developed by the Wikimedia Foundation for Wikipedia, and now we're working together to also bring that to Wikidata. Yeah. And last but not least, there are two fantastic courses to help people more meaningfully contribute to Wikidata. The first one is the Wikidata MOOC, a massive open online course on WikiLearn. And it teaches the basics of Wikidata to new editors. That course will run again in Q2 next year, and you can watch the wiki page that's linked here for updates on that. If you're a more advanced editor, then I want to highlight Peters and Agger's Wikidata ontology course. That is intended to teach more people about good data modeling practices in Wikidata. And you can catch up to the slides of that course on the wiki page that's linked here, if that is more up your alley than a basic course. Which brings me to the last sustainability topic, clarity in the Wikibase ecosystem. So we want to help create more clarity about what data and communities best go where in the Wikibase ecosystem. So in Wikidata, in Wikibase Cloud instances, and Wikibase Suite instances. And we're doing this mainly with 3 policies. A mass editing policy for Wikidata, and the RFC for this is currently ongoing, and you're welcome to chime in. Then the notability policy for Wikidata, and figuring out what we have, if that still serves us, and how it could be tweaked. And if that topic is important to you, please do reach out to me so I can include you as I organize conversations around that. And last but not least, to define the acceptable use of Wikibase Cloud to clarify what kind of Wikibase Cloud instances can be hosted there. In preparation for all of this, we worked with people from across the whole Wikibase ecosystem on some hypothetical data sets and communities. And we had scenarios. And one such scenario could be an initiative that traces the evolution of commercial advertising through a large image-heavy data set of historical ads. And they would get a lot of such hypothetical data sets and communities. And then we asked people where, based on their current understanding, they would put that in the Wikibase ecosystem. So would they put it on Wikidata? Would they do it on a Wikibase Cloud instance? Would they do it on a Wikibase Suite instance, self-hosted? Or would they not do it at all in the Wikibase ecosystem because it fits neither of those? As they were trying to sort all of that out, a lot of questions came up, like, does this community have the resources to host their own Wikibase? How large is that data set? Does this meet Wikidata's notability criteria? How much ownership do the people who own that data want to keep over that data, and so on? And that led to think about who actually can answer those questions and who needs to make decisions about that to come to a conclusion where a particular data set or community might best go. And some of it is up to the individual editor. Some of it is up to the community on that Wikibase instance, like on Wikidata. Some of it might be up to WMDE. Some of it might be up to WMF. And there's still a lot to sort through there, but that was one of the key hurdles that we identified. What we're doing now is summarizing the responses to each of those questions and consideration, and we'll publish that soon to continue the discussion. Again, if you're interested in that, please do get in touch if you want to discuss this more. Which brings me to the third and final theme, the Wikibase ecosystem. Over the last year, we have seen the Wikibase ecosystem grow, and more importantly, grow together. Here you can see, for example, the growth of Wikibase instances that are hosted on Wikibase Cloud over time. There are now over 300 self-hosted Wikibase instances out there that we know. There are probably more that we don't know about. And 1,742 Wikibase instances on Wikibase Cloud. And among those are some really, really nice ones, some real gems, such as the Enslaved projects documenting the transatlantic slave trade, and the Memotext projects about French Enlightenment novels, Pintscher base collecting lexicographical data about the Quechua languages, the European Union's Cohesio projects that publishing data about EU-funded projects, and the authority file that the National Library of Nigeria is building up with AFLIA. And that last one is especially interesting to me because it is intended to be an authority file for Nigerian authors in the hand of Nigerian librarians. And they're creating a reliable source that can later be a source to include their authors into the Wikimedia projects. And that I see that as a chance to help us. So first, you would put your data right into Wikidata in the hope that Wikipedia accepts it. But that, of course, leads to pain. And what we have here offers an alternative, I believe. Putting data into Wikibase and making that a reliable source and bringing some of that into Wikidata and then Wikipedia, which will hopefully be a much more fruitful path. And we do want the Wikibase ecosystem to continue growing and to become more tightly interconnected. And one of the features we're working on to make this happen is federation, and specifically ontology federation. What that means is we want to make it easier for people to rely on Wikidata or another Wikibase instance for concepts that are already well established on Wikidata. So they don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. So think of time zones, countries, units, and so on. And what you see here in the mockup, for example, is a statement with a value that's a link to a Wikidata item instead of a local one. And here we're making a statement. You would get hits from Wikidata as well as your local items. And if you're interested in testing this out, please let me know so we can get you on the list of people to try it. And now, as a last thing, let's take a look at what's ahead. I already mentioned a lot of things, but here's a high-level view again. We want more applications and services built on top of Wikidata, thanks to better data access. We will be opening up editing on mobile devices. We will create easier path for newcomers and peripheral editors to find their way and place in Wikidata. We will continue to work towards a more sustainable Wikidata, and we will create more clarity together around what goes where in the Wikibase ecosystem. And last but not least, we will open up more linked open data across the Wikibase ecosystem. And I want to leave you with one thought that's becoming clearer to me every day. Wikidata is more important than ever as a source of trustworthy, reliable, verifiable linked open data. And thank you for being a part of making Wikidata what it is today and what it will be tomorrow. Thank you for everything you do to make Wikidata shine. And see you on Wikidata.
Thank you, Lydia, for the wonderful presentation, updates, and the sharing of the good news of Wikidata to everyone. And of course, this would not be possible without the Wikidata team behind, working hard over the past over years, and also without the contributions of everyone who is, contributing to Wikidata, volunteering for Wikidata, making this project so wonderful. Now let's take some time to open up the floor for discussion. If there's any questions, someone like to take someone's hand? Someone has raised a hand.
I think Andy has his hand raised.
Yes. Andy, right? Andy, you have a hand raised. Do you have a question, or do you just want to applause and press the raise hand button by accident? Okay. Andy has the hand. And we have a comment and plus question in the chat by Klaus. Let me read out very quickly for the benefit of some of our participants who are unable to, who are traveling or something, unable to read the chat, read the question. Klaus said, I think one important aspect is missing here, quality management. Are there any evaluations or ongoing reviews of data quality in Wikidata? In Wikipedia, we have a large community that takes care of content quality and protects the articles. But when we offer Wikidata at such a scale, also as a data source for AI training, we need to think about this aspect much more seriously. Projects like AI Cleanup shows how knowledge can become polluted when AI-generated content starts coming back into Wikipedia. Honestly, if this problem isn't addressed properly, we might be doing ourselves a disservice in the long run. Klaus said, I will keep data and know the situation in my topics. Lydia, do you have any comments to respond? Thank you.
Absolutely. That's really important. And as Jan is saying in the chat, there is a lot of that data quality work happening in wiki projects, which is yet another reason why I believe we need to get more people there. There's, for example, regular reports of wrong data, missing data, and so on, that are often part of wiki projects. Then we have initiatives like I was talking about, the ontology course that is part of the ontology cleaning task force, that are looking at things like this. At the moment, we are also working with a group of students from the Hasso-Plattner Institute who are looking into measuring data quality, or at least certain aspects of data quality. So it is definitely a really important topic, especially now. I agree with that.
Thank you, Lydia. I think Klaus has raised his hand to in response to your comment. Klaus, am I right?
Yes, may I add? I have a cold, therefore maybe you don't understand. Is there a community? I think that without any community, this is not possible to protect quality.
Yes. And as Jan was saying, that is happening in wiki projects to a large extent.
Really?
Yeah.
As I look for something that there are problems or vandalism or any quality problems, and we did not find similar pages in your.
For example, for vandalism specifically, there is.
Is there?
There's a specific project.
More as we should do more transparent this, that you find it and that there derives a community from this. No? As we have to develop a community when we want to post, I think.
And maybe someone can find the anti-vandalism group and link them for Klaus, for example.
We can solve it today, but I must depose my question. It's
Klaus, we lost you. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Klaus, for.
Right, we can solve it today. You know my problem, and we have to work together to derive a community. That there is in a community, a big community, bigger than in Wikipedia is necessary.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a part of Wikidata that needs more people. So,
okay, thank you.
All help welcome.
Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, Lydia. I think there's I think Ian has very kindly also mentioned that I think wiki projects are doing a lot of quality reviews in their corners of Wikidata, and Ashmin has a question for Lydia. That's very interesting. Could you please elaborate on your cooperation with the Hasso-Plattner Institute on quality matters? Thank you.
Yes. So we have worked with the team that is the professor and his team before on, for example, the quality constraints. And now he has a new group of students that are trying to measure certain dimensions of data quality over time so that we can see, is Wikidata getting better on certain dimensions, such as consistency, and like consistent data modeling, and so on. I'm looking forward to what they actually come up with. It's a student's project, so you never know. But so far, I'm very, very hopeful.
Thank you, Lydia.